Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Oh, hold on one second. Okay. So, what's the plan? Plan is to continue this bad boy. Build this thing. One second though, I gotta go find something for a friend. Alright, I'm back. Yeah, so I have a Mark V. It's a pretty nice tripod. It's a Silk U6600. So I have a Silk U6600. It's got the shoe on it. It's got the adjustment this way, adjustment that way, adjustment this way. And then it's got the height adjustment as well, like that. I don't know exactly how tall it goes, but it's not a bad one. I like it. It's a good tripod. It's what I use all the time. Three adjustable legs with three telescopic adjustable sections. Anywho, what's up? Okay. Where were we? You're welcome. Anything else you need to know? Just let me know. Silk U6600. Silk U6600. It's a nice tripod. They're not like super expensive, but they're definitely not like the low end. It's got the standard quarter 20 shoe, swivel, pan, tilt, all that. It doesn't have a built-in level, but who needs that? So the plan is to power up all these motors. So let's get each one of these soldered onto the power distribution board. That's the plan. That is the plan. Oh, let's shut off autofocus. Where's that at? And configure video, camera controls, focus, auto, apply. There we go. Now the focus shouldn't freak out when I put my hand in there. Also, we should probably fix the auto exposure as well. So let's go to camera, configure video. Just put my hand in there because it's going to be in there anyways. exposure, auto, apply. There we go. Okay. No autofocus, no auto exposure. Alright, let's get to it, I guess. So, these are going to get soldered down to this power distribution board. So let's do this one first. There we go. This should be pre-tinned. I already tinned the pad. The wires are already tinned. So now we just gotta get it to solder on. Come on. Work with me here. It's a little bit on the grungy side. Let's clean that tip up a little bit. See if we can get a better join on this one. There we go. Much better. Okay, moving on to the next one. So we'll go over here. Let's get a little bend in it. And we can go straight down. And let's go on to the pad. There we go. I'll check that in a second.
Keep up the stream.
Alright, appreciate that. Thanks for the resub, my friend. Just for you. Little glitter action. Oh man. I think I got some in my soda. Appreciate that resub. 3 months, which means you get the new badge. And you get to keep using that emote. So thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. Back to soldering. Now that I got glitter or confetti all over the place. Appreciate that. All right. Let's move on. Okay. So now this one is the other way around. Positives on the inside, negatives on the outside. So let's move start with the positive here. Get that soldered down. Come on. There we go. Ba-boom. Last but not least, let's get this last power wire for this other side. Try not to melt the stand off while we're at it. There we go. Okay, so that's that side done. Perfecto. So this side's already got the main power wire on it. So let's go with negative on the inside. So let's grab that one. Get the tweezers on there. Solder this one down. There we go. See if we can not desolder the main wires while we're at it. That would be good. There we go. Okay. that positive pad doesn't look like it has quite enough solder on it. So let's tin that pad up a little bit more. I just tinned these up real quick when I started. There we go. Clean that tip up. Let's go for this positive wire. Get a little bend on it. Same thing, let's try not to melt this standoff too much. It's cutting it real close to this positive pad. We also got to make sure we don't bleed the positive pad over to the negative pad. Come on. Let's go. There we go. Okay. There's that motor. Let's double check these real quick. Yeah, that one doesn't have nearly enough solder for my liking on it. Let's add some more. There we go. Now let's get that soldered down. There we go. Yeah, that's looking good now. Yep, that one's looking good. This outside one over here is not looking too hot. So let's add a little more solder to that one. There we go. Let's get that soldered back down. Come on, work with me here. There we go. That's looking nice now. Okay, one more to go. Let's do this last outside motor. Okay, so it looks like positive on the inside. These pads both look pretty well pre-tinned. Let's tin these wires up just a little more, because they're factory tinned, but that might be part of my slight struggles I've been having, is this tinning on these factory ones might not be very good. So let's just add a tad bit more. There we go. Okay. Let's go. Give this a little bend, a little kink, and then solder that down. There we go. Let's get this last one here. The pad's looking a little dry. We'll see how it goes. There we go. Okay, so I think we got those pretty well soldered on there. I don't think they're coming off anytime soon. So now we can actually set this thing down. Ba-boom. Okay. So now that those are wired in, we need to figure out what the plan is with the... So these are ground. Which one of these pins is ground? So the bottom. So these all are going to plug in there. So I guess we could shorten those now. Yeah, let's do that. So let's take off these nuts. Take off the flight controller plate. We can relocate these ESC controller wires, and then we can plug them in their proper locations. Let's see. There we go. So now this flight controller plate should come off. Come on. Caught up on the threads. There we go. So there's our flight controller. I decided to put it on this plate, so I have a power distribution plate, basically where all the power is, and then I'm going to have a flight controller plate where all the flight controls will be. So these are all going to work their way this way. So these ones need to come out here. Oh, we should probably label these first. Let me grab my Sharpie. Come on. So if this is the front of the thing, that means this is motor 1. This is motor 2. This one's motor 3. And this back corner should be motor 4. So let's go 4. That way, when we take these, send them all this way, we know which ones are which. So these are going to go there. I'm actually going to grab some tape so we can secure these in place for now. Get a rough idea of where they'll be sitting. So these are going to run there. So that'll give us kind of an idea of where they go. And then they're going to run up through that plate. And then these ones are going to run together. And they will run up through this plate as well. There we go. So that one goes this way, that one's going that way. So that's roughly how it'll fit. I don't want to bolt that down because I don't want to crush anything. So now we need to take these and shorten them so that they plug in. So we basically need to get rid of this much on these ones and that much on those ones. Wow, that's a lot to get rid of. So to do that, we are going to need, let's get rid of the VR headset. We need the battery charger box. We don't need the heat shrink box. We can actually put the rest of the heat shrink in there though. That's just a little bit of the heat shrink. So where's the rest of the heat shrink? Here. So that can go in the heat shrink box. We'll use that later. Okay. Those are scraps. Those can go in the scrap box. Get rid of the RC controller. We don't need the propellers. Okay. So what we do need is not the standoffs, not the flight controller, the other frame. There they are. We need our DuPont connectors. I love code. Drones, yes, drones. Working on my first FPV quadcopter. It's kind of slow going, but we're getting there, one piece at a time. But it also doesn't help that I'm trying to do it a super clean build, so I'm probably going above and beyond what I should to get the build done. But, oh balls, I got confetti in my cup. Ooh, I'm sure it tastes just fine, but woo, confetti everywhere. Okay, so let's open this up. We should have the new jaws on it, so that'll work fine. We could probably turn off the soldering iron for now so I don't burn myself. Oh, we need my razor blade so I can depick these DuPonts. I'll be right back. I'm just going to grab the razor blades in the other room. Okay, so the plan is to not run over my headphone cord. Hello. Okay, so the plan is to snip these and shorten them up. We could probably get rid of the propellers for now because I'm not really worried about clearance issues anymore. I popped those on real quick so I could see if I would hit any of the battery wires when I was sorting out my power distribution system. So as you can see, I got my main battery wire, and then the ESC's power are wired in, soldered in, going underneath, and then they run down to the ESCs. The ESCs, I already trimmed desoldered the ESC controller wires, trimmed the motor wires, and wired them in so that there's no excess wiring. So just going for a super clean build. It's my first one. I could probably just whip this thing together and just get it done and flying. But I figure if I'm going to spend the time, I might as well do it the way I want. And basically the way I want to do it is with a custom ZMR250 frame, because I can't do anything normal. And custom wiring, and do it all up the right way in my mind. So what we're going to do is we're going to snip off this excess wiring for all the speed controllers. We already removed the power line for the BEC. We're going to run our separate power off of one of these 5-volt pads. So there's a 5-volt pad here. We're going to run that over and power up the CC3D with that. That way we don't have the BECs on the ESCs doing it. We'll use the BEC built into the power distribution board, keep it a little cleaner of a signal. But basically, instead of bunching all this wire up, which is ugly, we're going to snip it, and then we're going to recrimp DuPont connectors on. That way we can have, we want these ones, we can recrimp DuPonts on, that way we can have no excess wire in there. So, should be fun. We'll see how it goes. So let's start by taking off this. We need 2 of these. Okay. Let's start with ESC. Ooh, this one's, they're all mixed up now. So that one goes over here. I have them labeled, but I'm going to try and keep them somewhat organized. There we go. So let's start with ESC number 3 or 4. So first, let's depin the DuPont. Let's get these out of there. So to do that, we're going to just pick up this little tab and then slide the DuPont connector off. Pick up the tab again to catch that other section. And there's the 2 wires. So now we need to figure out how short we want to make these wires. I don't want to go too short. I want to give myself a tad bit of slack, but I'll probably do something like that. So let's shorten these up. Throw that away. Okay. So in order to use these DuPonts, we need to strip a tiny bit of insulation. So we're just going to roll it on the razor blade and then cut a little strip in it. Once we cut a little strip, we should be able to just pluck off the end. There we go. Let's roll that one. pluck off that end. Come on. Oh, there we go. So now we have these, which are basically, if we look in our trash here, so basically the connector that was on the end of the DuPont connector, we have a replacement one. So that way we can shorten these up. These are junk now because they've been used, but we can put the new ones on. So basically, we'll take this special crimping tool, which goes this away. Put that in there, like that. There we go. Now we'll take the wire, push it in all the way, and crimp it. And there's the DuPont. So now we should be able to take the other one, stick it in there, take the other wire, run it all the way inside the connector, crimp that one. Now that those are crimped, we can take our old connector end with the other one for reference, that way we can keep them the same. Looks like we're going to do orange on top, so we'll take that. We should be able to slide it in there. And then we'll take this one and we'll slide it in there. So it looks like they're a little bit on the thick side. So let's see if these, well, that one's kind of in there already. There we go. Let's see if the replacement ones have a little bit bigger fitment. Not much. So it looks like we need to get some needle nose and kind of just shape those up a tad bit. So let's go grab some. Alright, so let's kind of shape these up a little bit so that they fit a little better in the connector. Because the crimpers do a good job, but they're not perfect. That one's looking pretty good, just needs to be skinnied up a tad bit. There we go. Okay. So now, orange on top. Will that one fit in there now? Nope, still being a little bit on the tight side. Okay. Well, let's try some experimenting. See if we're using the wrong size. So let's strip that. We'll break this off. Let's try the 5mm size. So let's stick this in the 5mm. There we go. Stick the wire in. See if that gives us a little bit better crimp. No, it's definitely the smaller one. Yeah, we just got to make sure we get it perfectly lined up. then that should slip into that pretty decently. A little push persuasion. Yeah. That should work. Definitely doesn't go in super smooth, but it goes in. Okay. Well, let's just do some more tweaking with these ones. We'll get them to the right size, make sure they're straight. Squeeze the sides in a little bit. Okay. Oh yeah, look at that. That went in like butter now. So that's what it does. It just flattens out the bottom too much. So let's just kind of squeeze that bottom together a little bit. Kind of squares off the bottom. So we squeeze that together. Oh yeah, look at that. Butter. Boom, baby. Okay, so this should be number 3. So that'll go in 1 1 2 2 3 1 with power. The signal is on the top. Yeah, so that one's going to finish right off there. So we left a little bit of extra wiring, as you can see, just not a whole lot, because I didn't want it to be like super crazy excess. Okay, so that went a lot smoother than I thought it would. So let's get that one out of here. I don't want to get it tangled up with the other one. There we go. Alright. Well, experiment number 1 done. So let's continue. Let's continue with the rest of them. So that one's already shortened up. So let's shorten this one now. So we'll start by pulling it forward, figuring out where we want it. Cut the old one off. Let's depin this one real quick so we can reuse this DuPont connector. We got replacements, but if we don't have to replace them, why replace them? So we'll pull these pins out. So there's our old DuPont number 4. So we'll throw these wires away. Now, we'll strip these to expose a little bit of the wiring. There we go. Strip this one. There. Okay. I feel like this music might be a tad bit loud since I'm kind of far away from the mic, so I'm going to drop that down a tad bit. Okay. So now, let's get our 2 DuPont connectors. There we go. We'll load it up in our crimper. And survey says twisted. Come on, work with me, buddy. There we go. Pull it out a tad bit. Okay. Slip the wire up in there until we see it sticking out the other side. Crimp away. Pop that out. And then what I learned from the other one is it kind of flattens it out too wide on the bottom. So we'll just take our pliers, kind of squeeze this bottom back in a little bit. Make sure it's straight. Now we should be able to take this, slide the ground in the bottom side. Helps if I go in the right direction. And it should slide right in and lock in place. There it is. So that should be the same as the other ones. Yep, ground on the bottom. Alright, so let's give that a little bit of a twist to keep those wire ends together. Now let's take another one of these, set it in the crimp head, pull it out a little bit, there we go. Put these wires in until they just barely stick out the other end. I see them, and crimp it. Pop it out. Give the bottom a little pinch to shrink it back up a little bit. Not much, I'm just giving it a nice little squeeze to just kind of bring those sides back in a tad bit. Now we can take that one, pop it in the top, hear that click in place. There we go. So that's ESC number 2 shortened up. So now we have these two that are short, and that leaves these two here that still need to be shortened. Now obviously there's a lot more to cut off of these ones because they originated from this side. So let's go for it. Take the wires, we'll shorten those up. Depin these by picking up the little tab. Stick the razor blade down in there and just give it a tiny little twist to lift that tab up. Once the tab's lifted up, then we can pull, get the wire out. Lift the tab, pull the wire. Oh, snagged it, so there it is. Junk wires. See you later. Alright, so let's strip some more insulation on this one. Well, this one's brass. The other ones were kind of a silver color. Weird. Okay. Let's strip this one too. Didn't strip nearly enough as I wanted to, so let's take a little ring off that. There we go. That's better. Twist those up. Take our connectors. Alright, so let's load this up. Which side's the bigger side? This side. Make sure we put it in the right direction. One of these teeth is a tad bit bigger than the other because one tooth crimps the wire and one tooth crimps the sheathing. So they're different sizes so that you don't over tighten the sheathing. So let's slide that in until we see the wire stick out the other end. Give it a crimp, release it, go back over with the pliers and just shrink up the end a tad bit, just a smidge. There we go. Like a science. I'm going to take the brown wire and put it on the bottom. Should slide right in and click. There's the click. Okay. So let's crimp this one now. Load this in the crimp head. Close it down. Make sure it's square. There it is. It's a little bit crooked, but it should be okay. Slide those up till you see the wires. And then crimp it down. There it goes. Now, let's give it a tiny persuasion back into circular shape versus square. And then we'll slide that in. And it should go right in. A little stiff, so this one's might be a tad bit more squeezing, but it went in, so we'll leave it in. No point in taking it out. Okay. So now we have one more to do. So that should be ESC number 1. This should be ESC number 2. So let's come over here. Trim these wires up. There we go. Depin these. There's that one. There's that one. Throw those away. Take these DuPonts. Throw that away. Okay, let's strip the very tips of the wire. There we go. Okay, let's cut and strip this one. There we go. There we go. Okay. Twist those up. There we go. All right. Let's load up the crimper. There we go. Slide this one in. Come on. Just barely till we see the wires stick out the other side. Survey says crimp. Now we'll give it a tiny little squeeze back into circular. There we go. There we go. And that can slide on ground, bottom, bottom. A little tight still. Let's crimp it, squeeze it a tiny bit more. There we go. Okay. All right. Slide that up in there. Still a little on the tight side. That's okay. It clicked. That's all we're looking for. Okay, let's crimp this last one. So let's load it up. Ooh, lost it. There we go. Okay. Let's pop these wires through and crimp. Okay, now let's round that back out. There we go. Okay. Let's slide it back on. Boom. So that should be it. So now we should have these two going up and through like that. And then we should have these two coming up through there. And then we can take that, kind of put it down a tiny bit. I'm going to try something. It might end up being a failure, but we'll give it a shot. So, how close together do these go when they're on? So this is 2, so that's going to be there. And then, where's 1? So 1's going to go, let's scoot these over. There we go. So 1's going to go here with signal on top. two's gonna go there with signal on top. So those things get pretty darn close together. So I'm wondering, yeah, they're like right next to each other. So I'm curious, if we go over here to our heat shrink, and we take our heat shrink, if we can find one that will fit around all of those, we can heat shrink them together to create like one solid. So what are we looking at for 4 DuPonts together? 1, 2, 3. Let's do the fat ends. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what it would look like if we did 4 DuPonts kind of together. So that looks like it might be this size. Let's see if we can fit 4 DuPonts in here. Open that up. Survey says, yeah, it's probably going to be that size. So now we need to shorten it up quite a bit. So let's ditch these for now. We don't need those ones. Let's shorten this. There we go. Okay, we're done with this for now. We're done with these for now. Oh, and we're done with that for now. So we got plenty more DuPont connectors to go around. Alright. So now we should be able to feed all of these through. So here's 2 signal on top. Here's 1 signal on top. Is this one 3? Nope. So here's 3. Feed that through here. And then that will be signal on top. And then we need 4, which I think I made the longest out of all of them. But that's okay. So there's 4. Like that. Now let's hit it real quick with the heat gun. Right up around it. Okay. Let's pull that off. Let's heat shrink the bottom side too. There we go. So basically what I did is we now have a 4x3 DuPont, which in the future I might buy a 4x3 DuPont connector and just repin that thing that way. But at least this way it's repairable. So the question is whether or not, this is where it was experimental, whether or not it fits through here. It does not. Oh, ooh, barely. Just barely fits through. Nice. Okay. So that means that can go here. We can attach it to that, which seeming to be a tiny bit trickier. There it goes. So now we need to try and figure out where the the RC controller is going to go. So basically, let's see where it's at. We got their zip ties, bags, more zip ties. Where's the flight controller? So here's the flight controller wiring. Okay, now let's find the radio receiver. JST connectors, battery tester, antenna, camera. Where is that thing? Micro Minium OSD. FTDI adapter, shock mount plates. Where the heck is my receiver? There it is. Jeez. Bottom of the box. Very bottom of the box. Alright. Ditch the FTDI and the Minium OSD for now. We aren't quite there yet. Here's our controller receiver. This heat shrink for now. We're done using that. Put some tools off to the side. Don't need any of that soldering stuff. Get rid of the camera. Get rid of the antenna for the camera. Trash. Okay. So, let's throw a nut or two on this thing real quick just to keep it in place. Come on, where are you going? We don't want to bolt it down quite yet because we still need to do our standoffs. We've got to make some custom standoffs for this custom frame. But we can get it kind of bolted down for now. Make sure we're not pinching anything. There we go. Let's throw some nuts on that thing just to keep it from falling apart on us. Okay, so this is going to mount right here. So I'm curious whether we should have moved these wires forward. Probably. Let's get that soldering iron going up now. This is why we do these things. You gotta learn these things. Trial and error, figure it out. So this, I want this to mount right here because I already shaved some corners off of it, little notches, so that they could ride along these little bolts right here. So if that's the case, that means it's kind of pinching those wires right there. So we need to take these wires out of this hole and make them come up out of that hole. So I'll do one at a time. That way we don't have to accidentally wire them up wrong. Not that it would really matter, it's just power and ground. As long as they have it, it's not gonna make a big deal, but so let's de-wire these. The soldering iron's still kind of cold. Yeah, we'll shift those over just a little bit. That'll make for a much better install. So basically we're gonna send them out of the same hole these ones came out of. But I didn't even think about it when I was doing it, because these ones came out of the inside hole, not this little rectangular hole. But I made these ones come out of the rectangular hole instead of the little slot inside here. So we'll swap those over, and that should free up the room for the flight controller. Now I could mount the flight controller up here, which was the original plan. I was going to mount it right there, just like that. but the problem with that is this is our camera, and the way our camera plate goes on, so it slides over top like that, and it sits right there. So with that camera plate being there, this little flexi cable for the antenna bolts down in there, and it bumps into that where that receiver would be. So we got to move the receiver over to this bottom side. So it was originally going to sit right there, which I thought would be super duper slick, because then this wiring we can shorten it up like we did the other one. So we would just snip every single one of these off, shorten it up about that short, which would make it super compact. We could literally just plug it in from one end to the other, just like that. Oof, you wouldn't even realize it. But since we're running into that issue with the camera mount, we're going to end up flipping it over this way, which isn't a big deal. We're just going to send the wires down through the middle here, have them pop out the other side. But first we need to move these wires because they are in our way. So I know we just soldered these up, but oh well, time to desolder them. That's just the way it goes sometimes. So there's that one. Let's loosen up this one. Come on. There we go. Okay. Let's tag those as a pair. Okay. Let's desolder these ones now. And we'll reroute them and get them soldered right back up. No harm, no foul. There we go. There's that one. And there's that one. Okay. So we'll tag that pair. Take these nuts off real quick. I should be able to take this off, flip it over, take these wires, send them through there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. There we go. Put this back down real quick. Make sure we're not pinching any wires. So I've got some right there. Put a nut down. There we go. I'm not finalizing this install because, like I said, we still have to make the custom standoffs, and we'll have to squeeze the custom standoffs in here. But for now, I just want it kind of in the rough shape it's going to be, and then we'll make the standoffs and put them on. That way. Come on. Oh, that's a lock nut. Let's use this nylon. That'll be a little easier to put on. The standoff nut. There we go. Okay, we'll keep that locked in. Okay, now we need some of our soldering tools back. So let's go for that. Alright. Well, let's clean this up. Okay. Let's re-tin these real quick just to make sure they're nice and tinned up. That one's still got plenty of solder on it. There we go. Okay. Let's start with the ground on this motor here. Bring these in. Get it to stick. Hold it down. There's one. Solder it in. Let it dry. Or harden, whatever the term you want to use is. Okay. Let's go in with this one. There we go. A little off center. Let's move that there. There's that one. Bring this one in. There we go. So now, those can be out of the way. We'll need to open that center ring up because we're going to have to send that flight controller wires through there, but that's not a big deal. We'll actually probably send this smaller end through since it's all confined and it's not a bunch of standalones. So let's get that through there. There we go. So now this can get flipped over. This will get plugged in. Is it that way or is it this way? Survey says that way. So there's that. Okay. Okay, enough. Next. Okay. So I have, that's the little one, not that one. Where is it? Over here. Ugh. I have the second I bought an extra because I thought it was probably going to be inevitable that I screw up this operation and butcher my flight controller wiring. But I think based on how well the ESC ESC shortening job went, I think the flight controller shortening job will probably go just as easy. Man, I am like super overexposed. Let's go to, let's change the camera settings. Camera. Configure. Exposure. Oh yeah, that looks even better, huh? There we go, that's a little better. Yeah. Not so starch bright anymore. Okay. So we need to basically, this is going to get mounted here, which is probably going to happen via double-sided tape or a combination of double-sided tape and zip ties of some sort. But basically we need to shorten these wires to about right there. That's short. That's super duper short. Well, let's do it. Let's get them snipped. Give myself a tiny bit of extra wiggle room, but not much. Yeah. Probably like that. Yep. Okay. So, basically, all we're going to do is cross our fingers, shorten all these wires out. There we go. So now we got them marked and just take them out. There's those one, that's that one trimmed. There's those two trimmed. There we go. last but not least, the yellow. So there's all our extras. So now we can actually take this off of the flight controller. Come on. There we go. You can get rid of the drone for now. And basically, we can just repin all of these. So let's lay these out. I could probably even them up quite a bit, yeah. They're not quite all even, so we can actually do this. And even those up. There we go. Okay, so now comes the tedious part of stripping, crimping, depinning, repinning, do back and back. Mr. Junior Taylor, frick, you just cut those. Heck, yes. I lopped off my CC3D. Why not? Cut them short. All these wires are junk in the trash. Actually, they're not junk yet. I'm gonna save the DuPonts off of them so I don't have to use up my extra DuPonts. Anyways, Mr. Junior Taylor, I'm a wild man. Why you say that? So here's my explanation. I don't know how long you've been hanging out and lurking, but this here is gonna run through there, right? Like this. So this goes through the center. So scoot these wires out of the way. Right? And then this plugs in there. Right? Looks good, looks nice. Plugged right in. Oh yeah. But here's the problem. Now we're going to take our radio receiver, we're going to mount it right here. Right? So instead of doing one of these dumb numbers where you loop everything up and plug everything in, and then you have this ugly, frugly mess. You see that junk? You see all that garbage? Well, guess what? This garbage is now in this pile here. So I did the same thing with my ESCs. So I'm going to do the same thing with my CC3D. That's why this is not a very fast build, because I'm doing everything super clean. See how clean those are? Proper cable management, you got it. So basically, here's the extra wires from my ESCs. So we got the shorter wires and the longer wires, because obviously these ones were longer, so we cut it less off. These ones are shorter, so we cut more off. So basically we depinned them, cut them short, recrimped DuPont connectors on, heat shrinked it, so it's all nice. Look at that. That is a proper cabling job. Look at the flight controllers, or the ESCs. Desoldered, and then directly soldered the motor wires right to them. Do you see any excess wiring in there? Nothing. So everything, even the ESC power cables, are super clean. They run straight where they need to go. There's no extra wiring. This is going to be a slick build by the time it's done. Proper. So what we need to do now is we need to strip each one of these, crimp a new DuPont connector on it, and then swap over this DuPont end and basically plug it in. So we can use the old one for reference, but basically they're all going to go in order. So we know that the first two are the power and ground, and then it jumps to the white one. So let's just get to it. So basically, here's our power. So we take our razor blade and we're just going to roll it a little bit and strip it and twist it. It's very tedious. You probably can't see it, but it's stripped and tipped. It's beautiful. DuPont makes me think of Jeff Gordon. Well, you do know he's sponsored by that. Oh, bummer. Party foul. 5-second rule. But if you didn't know, I don't know if you're familiar with drone builds, but these connectors here are called DuPonts. So here's a DuPont kit. It's got the female sides. It's got the male sides, 3s, and then you got the male singles. And then you have the female crimps, and then you have the male pin crimps. So basically, you can take them and stick them together. So that's a DuPont connection. And then you got the little plastic that protects them. So what we're doing is we're taking these and we're re-crimping them onto this and then installing the little black caps back on to make our own custom shortened DuPont harness. So, take the DuPont crimpers, break off the connector, install it in the crimper, get it squared up, insert the wire till you can see it just barely stick out the other end, crimp it, and then we need to take some pliers to square round the bottom off, because my pliers are a little on the, my crimpers are a little on the cheap side, so they end up squishing it a little too much. So that was the red one. So it looks like the red one went in the middle. So what we'll do is we'll de-pin the middle. There we go. Lift up the tab, pull the pin out. Now we'll take this, slide it in until it clicks into place. Look at that. So obviously we still have the black and white to do. Let's see how that's a little stubby connector now. It's beautiful. Okay, so let's go again. Take the black one, twist a little bit off the tip, twist up the tip a little bit to keep it all together. Now we'll break this off. Load it in the crimper tool. There we go. Make sure it's squared. Nope. There we go. Okay. Stick that wire in until we see it out the other side. Crimp it. And like I said, mine are cheap, so I gotta make sure I use some pliers and re-round the back end because it gets squared out a little too much. Now we can take the black wire, de-pin it from the connector, trash that one, flip this around there, push it until it clicks. Now we take the white one, moving on. Strip the tip, twist the tip, take our DuPont, load that in the crimper, take the white wire, stick it in, crimp it down, squeeze the back end a little bit. Come on. There we go. Oh, let's go. Let's go. Work with me here. There we go. Now we'll de-pin this white wire. So we'll lift up the little tab. Got caught again on the second notch. There we go. So now the red, white, and blue. Best colors. Dang, bro, stop making me look so easy. Well, I mean, it's kind of easy. Then we'll take this white one, and we'll slide it in here. There it is. So now, that's the first of... Oh, it didn't go all the way in. Second notch. Go, click it in. There it is. So you can see our end result is a significantly shorter CC3D flight controller wire. So we went from this long to that long. So it's gonna like clean up the install like 100%. So yeah, it's tedious, but can you honestly tell me that it's not gonna be worth it? So that's the first one. So that's the 3. That's the power ground and signal 1. So then the other 5 are all singles. So I don't really need to worry about the order. I can just strip and crimp them all. So let's just do that. It's tedious. Might be boring to watch, but so strip, twist, and work our way down the line. This is my first drone build, by the way. I may be making it look easy, but I've never done this before. I basically just take everything to a whole new level. So, I can't do anything normal. I could have just did the classic. Take the pieces, throw them in, tape up the extra, throw it in a pre-bought frame. So even my framework is custom. So I'm running a ZMR250 frame, but it's a custom frame at this point. It's going to be completely custom by the time I'm done with it, because I can't do anything normal. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so those are all stripped and twisted. That one's not yet. There we go. So now we need 5 pins. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these can go back in the case. There we go. Let's go to town. Load up the crimper. So here's this one. Stick it in. Pick one of these. It doesn't matter which one. So the order is determined by the casing. So there's that one. I'd be afraid to build one. I'd just get sucked into the hobbyist hole. Yeah, me too. I get sucked into the hobbyist hole. But I've always wanted a FPV drone, so I figured, you know what, why not just build one? You own a Mavic, but you never built. My brother wants to get a Mavic. He's the same way. He loves the idea of drones and like wants to fly and all that, but he couldn't be bothered with building one. So he went with the Mavic. I am the hobbyist. I probably spent more on this than I would have spent if I just bought one. But then again, I'm also a tool guy, so like all the different stuff I bought for this build, like these crimpers per se, are not really going to go bad because I'll be able to use them on future builds of other things. You know, if this drone goes well, probably won't be my first build. I'll probably end up building a new one. So tools are an investment in my opinion. You know, coming from a professional mechanic standpoint, you know, technician for vehicles, you know, you pride yourself on having the right tools. So, you know, I had to buy a controller, and I had to buy a headset, and I had to buy the crimpers, and I had to buy battery, like a LiPo battery charger. But those are one-time purchases. if I do anything else that's, you know, LiPo RC related, I don't have to buy another charger. So it is what it is. So now that we got those all crimped, let's squeeze those all, because like I said, my crimps is cheap. So we need to re-round these out. I was having issues with my flight controller shortening because I didn't realize that my crimpers were making these too flat and square, and I had to re-round them out, and once I figured that out, they popped together no problem. Getting text message. Do you drive by my house in the morning? I wanted to know if you could borrow your tripod. Not directly, but I could make a pass. Alright, so now let's depin these. Not this one, these are the good ones. There we go. So these don't really matter on color right now. So there's one. There's two. Oh, come on. There's two little notches it'll catch if you're not careful. Okay. There's three. Here's four. And here's five. Do you sell those crimpers off Snap-on truck? No, I bought these from China. I'm sure you could find them on a Snap-on truck, but it's going to cost you 10 times as much money. It's just the nature of the beast. Alright, so now it looks like these all need to go on the bottom of this connector. So that's the bottom. Click. Okay. But they do sell these crimpers for sure. I know you could buy these crimpers because these DuPont connectors are not much different than the ones that cars use, as far as like the pinning and stuff. So I've actually taken these crimpers to work. So you could buy them on the Snap-on truck. You might need to buy different jaws depending on what particular car brand or you're working on, or particular connector style, because there's a bunch of different types of these crimp connectors. But these have screws. You can take the jaws off, and you can buy different jaws with different teeth patterns for all different types of connectors. So these jaws I actually bought separate from the crimpers, because the crimpers came with jaws that weren't the right size. Because these are such small connectors, I needed one that went down to 0.25, and the jaws that came with it went down to 0.5. So I had to get a new set of jaws anyways. So there you go. So now we have a custom shortened harness that eliminates a whole lot of wiring. So what we can do now is we can take this, we can kind of separate these. This is just a mock fitting. I'm not quite going to put it together yet. But we can take that, we can plug it in. There we go. So now over here, looks like we have battery. So I'll have to organize these afterwards. But for now, we'll just plug them in for testing purposes, just to see how it fits. But they're not going to be in the right order, but I'm not planning on firing it up anyways. So let's stick this in here, and we'll just line them all up. There's that one. Like I said, I'm not putting these in any particular order. They're guaranteed they're not in the right order. I'm just test fitting it. So now look at that. Tell me that's not 10 times better than having a massive wadded up bundle of wires. Like I said, this is my first build, but I know that's clean. Clean. That's nice. So that's going to go there. And so this outside camera cage, so that's where our camera is mounted, that's going to end up going over top. So we still got to make the custom standoffs, but basically once we make the standoffs, it's going to be encased something like that. So that's that, with the with the RC controller in there. And then next we have to figure out where to mount this. That's the next step. So this is pretty easy. Unfortunately, well, fortunately and unfortunately. So basically, if we take this, this plugs into the camera receiver right here. And then this goes to 12 volts. It actually plugs into, if you take a LiPo battery, this will plug into a balance port on a LiPo. We have spare pads on our power distribution board. So here we have 5 volt, 12 volt, little tiny 5 volts, and then we have the cam one. So this will actually, and then we have the VXT or VTX. So I can power everything off. So this will get 12 volts, but we'll just end up wiring it. We'll snip these off and we'll wire it directly into the flight control or into the power distribution board, just to keep it simple. And then this is probably going to mount in the back over here. And this plugs into the camera. Unfortunately, I don't have replacements of these micro JSTs, so I'm not going to be able to recrimp these. But I'll still be able to manage the cabling, because this isn't going to plug directly in. We're actually going to snip this in half. So this will plug into the camera, this will plug into the transmitter, and then over here we have this little guy. Boom, boom. So there we go. Get rid of these little pins here. So this is a micro-minium OSD. So basically it's a very, very small version of an on-screen display. So I'll be flying this camera, this copter via the camera, so first-person vision. So what the camera sees is what I'll see in my VR headset. And what this will do is this will splice in between, so we can wire the inputs and the outputs into this board. So the inputs will go in one side, the outputs will go in the other, and then using not this one, but we have another, this one here. So we have this little guy here, which we can end up shortening up using the DuPonts again. So this plugs in here. Come on. So this comes with your flight controller. Oh, we're all tangled up. So this plugs in, you get 2 of these, and they plug in here. And basically this is to send and receive information from the flight controller. So we're actually gonna take this, double it back. We'll snip these off. We'll re-DuPont these just like we did the other ones, because it's gonna end up connecting into this 4-pin header. So these 4 pins will go into these 4-pin headers, just like that. 1, 2, come on. Yeah. So those 4-pin headers will go into that, and that will go and get soldered into these holes over here. So we'll solder that together like that. That'll get mounted here, and we'll shorten these wires so that it's super clean like that. But basically, that will transmit flight controller data, such as throttle response, throttle level, altitude, pitch, yaw, roll, artificial horizon, battery voltage. Well, battery voltage will be on a separate pad coming off of, directly off of this. So we'll tap into this pad over here, which is unmonitored. I don't know, probably about a year. Probably about a year. So this pad here is another 12, like a non-filtered. So all the ESCs get pure unfiltered battery, basically battery in, battery out. All of these chips and stuff are the BECs to control the 5 volt, 12 volt steady sources, the LED controls. So we'll basically run right off of these battery ports back here into this chip, and we'll get straight battery voltage into this chip without any sort of reduction, because that would be pointless. And basically what this will do is it'll take all that information, we'll program it using an FTDI adapter. So this is what connects this chip to the computer, and we can basically take all that information and tell, say this was our camera, we can, make the battery voltage over here in text. We can put, throttle and stuff over here, and then we'll have the artificial horizon line, and it'll move like a jet, and it'll overlay that text on top of your vision. So it's almost like having a virtual cockpit. So that'll help just with, monitoring battery voltage so you don't drain your batteries too low. And if you're looking at the sky, it'll give you an idea of what direction you're facing. Because once you're looking at the sky, you don't really know if you're tipped this way or tipped that way. You could be either way, and you don't really know. But that line will stay. So once the camera, once the drone moves, that line won't be like this. The line will be like that, knowing that you're tilted to the left. Because this is the ground line, and then once you roll back, it'll straighten out. So it'll just give you a nice, like, heads-up display. Hence the reason it's a on-screen display. It'll tell you different information. So this will get tied into that, because the video feed will go into it and out of it. And then that'll get tied into one of the accessory ports on the CC3D. So now I'm just trying to figure out what we should do next. I don't know if I want to get too tackled in. We're already at 10 hours, which means I've been streaming for 2 hours. We got the shortened up wires, which was a pain in the butt. And then we got the stubby controller wires made up. We got the ESCs all wired in. Those are looking pretty good. They could have been a little bit cleaner. This battery is going to end up going over here. We still need to cut the standoffs. So basically, these little aluminum standoffs that you see here are going to have to be split in half. I feel like the first person may be scary with any latency. Yeah, there's 0 latency really. So we're going to be running this thing at probably 460 resolution. It's going to be super low quality because obviously to be flying with like 1080, you're going to get the latency. So we're actually running really crappy, really grainy. It's not the best image, but you get virtually no latency. If you want good video, then you just fly with like a GoPro strapped on top. So, you know, up here on the top, we'll have this encasing that, which is why we need to make those standoffs, because I basically need to cut them in half so that we can mount the little ones in between here, because I have this double sandwiched frame in the middle, which was a design feature I really wanted, and I'm not upset I did it, but now we have to work around that. So it's pretty good, pretty good. And then so basically that'll be like that, and then we're gonna take a battery. Do we have any? Where are my batteries? They must be in the other room. And then the battery's going to get strapped right on top. So that leaves a lot of room. You can make, you know, a GoPro mount right there. They actually come with, one. I just don't have it installed right now because I don't have a GoPro. But basically you can mount this anti-vibration shock pad right here, and that gives you a spot to strap the GoPro. It's possible to record a line of micro SD at 1080 in view. It might be possible. I know there's some people that have been working on some really HD heads-up displays, but really the best way to do it is just mount a GoPro or mount like a Sony action cam or something like that and just record off that, because you're going to run into some issues if you're trying to stream. But there are some camera modules, like I said, people have been working on it. So there are some camera modules that will record what they see in 1080, and you put an SD card into this, and then it will downgrade what it needs to and send that. But I went with the cheap build. This is a budget build, so this is a pretty cheap camera, so I didn't want to go too crazy. But I think we're going to end up calling it quits. The wife's probably heading on her way home pretty soon. Okay, thanks so much. I'll be on my way. Okay. Got a friend coming over to visit me. Anyways, but I'll probably be packing up. I got to clean up before the wife gets home. That way she doesn't make me sleep on the couch. But I think we'll be packing up. So what's going to be next? The next stream for this will probably be next Monday, because the wife's got something she does Monday nights. So it's Mondays seems like a good time to do this. I did my last one 2 Mondays ago, where we did the frame modifications, got the ESCs mounted and stuff. But I think the plan will be, let's unplug that way it's not dangling anymore. So the plan will probably be get those standoffs trimmed, because I don't really want to. Yar, Mr. Aho, I'm headed to bed as well. Nice work on the drone. Well, thank you. You have a good one. I will catch you later. So I'll probably end up cutting those standoffs off stream, because that's going to be tedious, and I don't feel like trying to hook up the scroll saw and show you how to, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like something that would work out well. So I'll probably pre-cut the standoffs, and then next week when we continue the build, we could secure this, because this isn't actually bolted down yet. This just has 2 little nuts holding it together. We're going to clean up all that. We'll clean up the wiring, like finalize it so it's not pinched, run it down some nice channels, maybe even wrap it up so that we get like these cleared out so you don't see these wires. We'll run it nicely down the side here or something. And then yeah, we'll get that. We get the frame mounted with the standoffs, and then we'll probably start working. Ooh, well, theoretically it'll fly. Theoretically this will fly. So maybe next week we'll plug in the CC3D, get it flashed, get the firmware on it, and do a motor test and actually get this thing spinning up. And then we'll basically have a flying, well, I mean, theoretically right now, even without that outer case, this thing would fly. So with this plugged in, right there we have a working drone. So yeah, I think that's what we'll do next week. Next week we will flash the CC3D, get the software on it. I can pull that up on screen too, because I have a way to pull up my screen monitoring. So basically like that, you can see what's on screen. So you'll be able to see the programming in action. We'll get the CC3 programmed up, and then if we have time after that, all the firmware updates, the BL Heli updates, maybe then we can start working on the camera system, because we'll have those standoffs done, so we'll be able to basically finalize the build. So probably two or three more streams and this thing will be done. So anyways, I'm gonna end up cleaning up here. You probably don't want to see me do that, so I'm going to head out and call it a night. If you're lurking in the stream and feel like finding me the next time I go live, feel free to drop a follow. If you don't want to be called out, just do it after the stream goes dead and you won't get called out. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Hopefully it was somewhat informative, educational. Thanks to you, Mr. Junior Taylor, for entertaining me in the chat. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next stream. Bye-bye.